Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay. We got Jacob in Wisconsin here to talk some Packers and talk some draft as we are how many days away now, boys? About 14 days. Is that right?
14 Don Hudson days away, baby. Let's
2
go.
weeks away, man. I cannot wait, dude. This is going to be the best draft ever. It's been a fun process. I think I've learned more this year than I ever have. Just studying the draft, and it's just been an absolute, like I said, a blast covering it for sure. So we've got several things we could talk about. Boy, it's amazing. I sat around most of the day and was, what are we going to talk about tonight? And then 15 minutes before the show started, had all kinds of news breaks. So we're going to try to comb through it all here. Let's start with this. As a matter of fact, Easton Butler had put a tweet out that the Packers have a top 30 visit in with Tulane cornerback Micah Robinson. Okay. And I just want to mention this briefly because I put an article together. You guys have got it up over at Patreon. I haven't had a chance to go through and fact check every aspect of it. It's kind of a long process that you got to go through and make sure that the information is correct as it's pulling data from all types of different websites. But we will kind of cover them here shortly and then do a deep dive tomorrow. Here are the PFF grades for him. Starting in 2020, 56.2, 2021, 75.2, 2022, 73.5, then falling back to a 69.8 in 2023, and then 2024 jumping all the way to 84.3 with the PFF grade. And it's wild, too, because he wasn't even on our board, right? The PFF big board does not have him. The consensus big board does not have him. None of our expert scouts have any grades on him in terms of where they may or may not rank him. So what we've got to go off of are the PFF grades, and it just so happens that he was the 23rd highest graded corner, so that was putting him 23 on our board, and obviously that's not correct. So what me and Emilio have decided to do is if they're not on the consensus big board, we're going to treat them as if they're the very last prospect on the consensus big board to kind of shake that out. So it does put him pretty far down the list for us, and we'll cover it in detail, the full scouting report tomorrow. He's 439 on the PTA big board with that obviously over-exaggerated consensus big board grade there. I just wanted to mention that because that was breaking news before we went live. We'll do a deep dive on his high school recruiting report, all that stuff. It says he's a 3-star recruit coming out of high school, but again, I want to double-check that with On3 and run that by a few guys that I follow in terms of high school recruiting and college football podcasts. So just want to get you guys the facts on that guy before talking too much in detail about him. But I will get your all's take real quick. It's another cornerback. Seems like it's a late round corner, and you guys may be excited about this. The RAS isn't great, 6.77, but a 4.38 40-yard dash. So obviously this dude's a burner. Tim, you got anything you want to add to this? Jacob, same thing, man?
No, I got to do a little homework because the first thing I thought was
who?
So we'll work on it. We'll get it together. But he's fast, right? I mean, yep. Sub-7 RAS, not super great, but not the end of the world. Worth taking a look at, though.
Yeah, definitely like that 40 time. Not as explosive as maybe you'd hope, but like Tim said, I think it's homework's time because I could not find him on the PFF consensus board, and NFL Draft Buzz didn't even have a single thing on him, which usually they've got a pretty wide net that they cast over a lot of prospects. So that's a hidden gem for sure.
Yeah. So again, we'll get all the details on him. I'll get that article completed by tomorrow and make sure everything's accurate. And we'll do a deep dive into him tomorrow and kind of see, all right, what does it look like we potentially have with Micah Robinson there? Obviously a top 30 visit. I think it's one of those guys that Goody's targeting for an undrafted free agent, most likely. I just wanted to run it by you guys to see if you had any information. So appreciate that. Let's get to some of the news of the day here. And this is it's weird, man. I don't know how to feel about this stuff. I'm not going to lie. Like anytime any kind of news breaks during draft season, that's right, we got breaking news. I enjoy covering and I enjoy talking about it and getting one more piece to the puzzle in terms of our draft board. But it's also kind of kind of a downer when it comes to Texas Longhorn Isaiah Bond here, if you guys may have already seen on Twitter. And we put an article together. What I did was had it combed through the intrawebs. There were several articles written, pull the facts for me, and we'll make sure we give credit to anyone who may have reported anything, specifically. But Texas Longhorns ex-receiver Isaiah Bond faces legal hurdle ahead of NFL draft. Packers top 30 visit in jeopardy. So he just posted the other day that he was in Green Bay. We know we had already reported on it through Easton Butler, giving us the scoop there that he was going to be scheduled as a top 30 visit. So he completed that top 30 visit. And I'm going to try to give all the details into this. Before we dive into it, is there anything you guys want to say about Isaiah Bond? Because I'm not just saying this because it now seems like he's got some legal troubles that he's got to overcome. And again, innocent until proven guilty, in my opinion. But he was a little bit lower on our board, and some people were saying he's like late first, early second. I just never seen him like that according to our board. But anything you guys want to add before we jump into the article here?
Innocent until proven guilty for sure. And that's no way a defense of any potential whatever, in this situation. I do know that based on what I read, he turned himself in with his attorney. Right. So usually that's a good sign, at least in the eyes of the law, that if you're willing to voluntarily surrender to a warrant and cooperate with the investigation. So it looks like he's cooperating right now. And, you got to let this kind of play out. I will say this. Still doesn't look good for him. And like you said, he's kind of, to me, one of those like borderline, just outside the top 100, kind of 125 range of players. So it does kind of suck because we just had a visit with him. We like our character high here in Green Bay with our players. So we don't like the off the field shenanigans at all. So if there's truth to this, it probably will hurt his chances of being drafted by the Packers. And sadly to say, even if there's no truth to it, it's still not a good look to,
right.
be arrested and, going into the draft. So we'll just see how it plays out. But, on paper, like I said, he's, a little bit lower on our board, I know, than most people have him. I think he's just outside the consensus top 100 right now.
All right. Let's dive into it. Jacob, you got anything you want to say before we jump into the details here, man?
No, I mean, Tim kind of basically covered it. Innocent until proven guilty. I don't think it looks the best. I'd argue that him kind of just surrendering himself maybe on the opposite side of the spectrum, just so he knows he maybe did something wrong and wants to get ahead of it and just be as cooperative as possible. I will say, too, he was kind of known for the guy that was spouting off saying he's going to break the 40 record, all this and that. He wasn't even the fastest guy in his own squad. So it seems like there could be maybe a little smoke or fire where there's that smoke, but I'm not definitely going to throw him underneath the bus. However, like Tim said, as far as him just realistically becoming a Packer, that stock drastically just plummeted.
Yeah, definitely. And again, it might not even be that a team feels 100% confident that, hey, there's nothing there or there is something there. There may not be enough time to let this unfold that you go, all right.
That's true.
Anyway, here are the details, guys. Former Texas Longhorns wide receiver Isaiah Bond has recently encountered legal trouble ahead of the 2025 NFL Draft, according to a report by Zach Dimmitt of Sports Illustrated. Bond turned himself into Frisco Police Department in the Dallas-Fort Worth area on the morning of Thursday, April 10th, 2025, due to an outstanding warrant for sexual assault. The report indicates that Bond was able to post bond and was subsequently released from custody. Bond, who played his first two college seasons with the Alabama Crimson Tide before transferring to Texas last offseason, has not revealed whether the alleged incident took place during his time in Tuscaloosa or during his single season in Austin. As a highly touted prospect, Bond is currently ranked at the 126th spot on our PTA big board and has been scheduled for a top 30 visit with the Green Bay Packers. However, this legal issue could potentially affect his draft stock as teams assess his character off the field conduct. All right. So during his tenure with the Longhorns, Bond demonstrated his abilities on the field despite struggling with a persistent ankle injury. In the SEC championship game against Georgia on December 7th, 2024, he recorded just one reception for 22 yards before the injury sidelined him for the first round of the college football playoff against Clemson. Although he returned for the Peach Bowl against Arizona State, Bond failed to make a catch in the Longhorns' final game. a defeat to Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl, he contributed 1 reception for 8 yards. As reported by Zach Demmett, the Frisco Police Department confirmed Bond's arrest and release on bond to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport with the 2025 draft set to commence, blah, blah, blah. So they didn't give any details in that pool right there. So here is what his statement was, okay? And it sounds like it, if I remember correctly, I was reading online somewhere that it was sexual assault allegations is what I heard. Is that what you guys heard as well?
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, we don't want to dig too deep and be like, hey, here's what it is without exactly knowing.
Exactly. That's a broad term, right?
Right. Exactly.
I mean, there's varying degrees of that, and who knows? We'll see when the reports come out.
I mean, nowadays, like when I whistle at Emilio, you know what I mean? That could be construed as that say.
What is wrong?
You know?
What is wrong?
Hey, check your mailbox. You might have a letter in there. You never know.
Exactly. All right, so Ian Rappaport had put a tweet out earlier that said former Texas wide receiver and current NFL draft prospect Isaiah Bond turned himself into Frisco this morning for a matter related to an outstanding warrant for sexual assault. There it is, okay? And now since then, Isaiah Bond released a statement, and here's the statement, quote, regarding the accusation made against me, I would appreciate the time and opportunity to defend myself and prove the claims made patently false. I am in full cooperation with the authorities and will remain a willing and active participant in the investigation. Unfortunately, claims like this proved to be harmful to all involved, absent full review. I kindly request that all reserve judgment until the authorities provide a complete report based on truth and evidence.
100% of that typed up by his lawyer. There is no way he said that.
No doubt about it. And again, you know, the problem that I have with it, if I can just kind of speak to, you know, being completely honest and outspoken on how this looks to me, how did all of a sudden there was an outstanding warrant that you just found out about? You know what I mean? And
for something that serious. This isn't like a traffic ticket or something, you know.
And this is strictly, let me be very, very clear here. This is all alleged. We don't know if any of this is true. But I'm just going to be honest, as a Packer fan and a football fan, the first thing that popped in my mind was like, did this guy just ignore the warrant and go through this whole process, make sure you get the combine behind you, all this stuff? Okay, now let's deal with it. Now let's turn ourselves in, that type of thing. I mean, I'm not real familiar with warrants personally, but
I do know you can have one and not necessarily be aware of it sometimes.
Oh, yeah, you can.
Yeah, it does happen. So he could have been accused. And
Jacob said you can have multiple and not be aware. No. Go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying he could have, you know, there could have been accusations, and then, you know, he wasn't aware that there was actually, you know, a warrant filed for his arrest. And obviously once he did find out, it looks like he lawyered up and walked in and turned himself in, and he's cooperating. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. H.E. Solder says, I suspect that Bond is now off the Packers board. Again, with us not knowing if there's going to be enough time for them to uncover the truth, I tend to lean toward you there, Solder. You know, I mean, the Packers definitely aren't going to draft them without knowing whether or not, hey, are these allegations true or false, right? Like we've been talking about Mike Green this whole time because there's nothing legal has happened to Mike Green.
Yep.
But 2 different instances at 2 different places, you know, it just makes you go, I guarantee you, if you're Goody, you got to be looking at that going, us not knowing for sure. If you're 99%, you know, what's the saying here? I'm about to pull a George W. Bush. if you're not 100% sure, or if you're 99% sure, then you're 100% unsure, I think is how they say it. Like, you can't pull the trigger, especially on the first round or second round, and not know for sure whether or not this is, because once you draft that player and that contract signed, you're on the hook for that guaranteed money, right? Unless you put something in that contract saying, hey, if something surfaces from this, and if that's the case there, the other 31 owners of the teams are not going to say, yeah, you know what, if that does turn out to be true, we'll just let you have your draft pick back next year. That's not how that works. So
sure isn't.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And again,
it is like when you compare it to Mike Green's situation, if there's nothing that's been filed legally, like he's not being formally charged with anything, and then you look at Isaiah Bond, there's actually a warrant and charges apparently here coming up. So we'll have to really see what happens. Either way, it's not a good look. You file that into the character concern bucket when you're looking at a prospect, and it's not a good look.
That's very well said, Tim. Very well said. Chuck Goodman in the chat says, a few years ago, there was I think that means wide receiver, Wisconsin receiver, charged with sexual assault, rape, and won the trial in part because he had text messages from the girl suggesting otherwise. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's such a touchy subject, and I'm someone, just to be 100% transparent with you guys, I tend to almost always lean towards the female side in these situations, and it's just all of our opinions are based off our past experiences, right? I was raised by an awesome mom who had the roughest life on the face of the earth. And I was also, lived in a 2-bedroom house with 3 sisters. So I always tend to be very protective over the ladies. That's just how I am naturally. So on the flip side, that situation there that he just described, that Chuck described, absolutely horrible for that guy. Like, you've seen it with Matt Ariza, right? What they call the punt god. It damn near ruined his life and ended up being fake, ended up being false, right? So, but on the other side, if it's true, there is almost nothing worse on the face of the earth than anyone having to go through a sexual assault like that. That is absolutely horrible. So I want to make that very clear, that's why you got to be really careful with these type of topics, man, because again, let it out and move forward that way. Go ahead, Jake.
No, I'll just say this and then we can move on. 100% back what you just said. I will say, however, that if it comes out, and in all cases where somebody's life can be immediately ruined, the person that makes an accusation, if that is found to be clearly a false accusation, I believe that person should be equally sentenced to the same type of crime that man would have been. You know what I'm saying? If you're willing to drag someone's whole name through the dirt and it's proven to be a lie, you did it to try to make some money or whatever it is, you are an evil person and you deserve to suffer for those as well.
Yeah. And if you're a man who sexually assaults a woman, you should be castrated. I'm sorry.
Wood chipper.
There's nothing. There's I mean,
wood chipper.
My hair standing up right now just thinking about it, man. Like, I don't know. My thought immediately goes to my family and the females in my life. And I'm like, boy, oh boy. Whew.
I like your thought though, Jacob. Like, if you're gonna falsely accuse someone of a felony, then you should be charged with a felony as well and be prosecuted for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. United Bates says it was probably a new charge. He was given the opportunity to turn himself in for something like a sexual assault charge. Police would otherwise execute warrants at your residence. See, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I thought it would be a lot more like.
Yeah. Hey, so then there's no way this was some old thing he wasn't aware of. That's a good point by Bates. Clearly a new charge. I wonder if his legal representation might have been notified before he was and just said, hey, get your client and turn himself in. Otherwise, we're kicking your door in, kind of scenario. You never know.
Which, by the way, props to Bates, because somebody was jabbing a little bit. They said, what Bates, what are you, a lawyer? And he said, no, I was a major crimes detective and SWAT fella. It's like, and then Greg goes back and goes, don't piss off Bates.
Y'all don't know about Bates. Y'all have I know very little about Bates, but what I do know about Bates, it's very rare that you meet someone over the internet that you go, that dude's a real deal. That dude's a real deal. So, all right. So anything else on the Isaiah Bond situation? And again, man, if he's innocent, I hope he's proven innocent. If he's guilty, I hope they put him under the damn jail. Anything else, gents?
Bates said he retired, so we can all have fun now. It's all good.
All right, fair enough. All right, so there you go. There's the Isaiah Bond update. And again, if we were to just talk strictly football in the situation, again, I'm not gonna lie, I've been a little concerned. Like, if Isaiah Bond ends up being the 23rd pick, I don't know how I'm going to defend him.
Oh, bro.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, this was before all the allegations, because he's just so low on our board. And I'm like, I just can't see the 23rd pick. I can't even see the 54th pick. You know what I mean?
If they take him at 54 instead of Jaden Higgins, are you kidding?
Tim's going to be getting served a warrant. That's exactly what's going to happen. So, all right, there you go, Isaiah Bond. Up next, I put an article together earlier. I want to get your all's take on it. I've been trying to, explain what we did last year with the draft board in the magenta players. You guys remember me talking about this last year? We had, I think it was 7 or 8 players that were highlighted in magenta. And it was like, okay, these are the guys that if I had to put my money on it, these are probably the guys the Packers are really looking to draft. Doesn't mean the board's going to fall just right, but expect a good portion of these players. There ended up being 2 of those 7 or 8 players that actually got drafted by the Packers, Tyron Hopper and Katano Ladapo. Now, what I did today was I took a little bit of time as we were rained out earlier today from work, and I said, let me try to vocalize. Let me try to put this in article form, explain to people how we came up with that and take it one step further this year if we can. I just put prime for the picking. So the Packers find talent at the Senior Bowl. The Green Bay Packers have a knack for spotting talent in the Reese's Senior Bowl, an annual showcase for top college football prospects.
Say Reese's?
Yeah, that's how I say it. Do you say Reese's?
Reese's.
Yeah. We down here we say Reese's. So yeah. Just like I've heard people say coyotes. I'm like, what the hell's a coyote? We call them coyotes. What are we doing here? So what do y'all call coyotes up there?
Coyotes.
Coyote.
Okay.
Oh,
See,
here we go.
I'm telling you. I love how Jacob's always the first person to go, did you say it? Did you say his name like that? And then he's the one that's in the minority here. But anyway.
Don't put that name in my mouth right there.
All right. So in recent years, the Packers have leaned heavily on Mobile, Alabama event to bolster their roster. Last year alone, 8 Packer draft picks, so there it was, in 2024 had Senior Bowl experience, highlighting the team's trust in the event's competitive environment. With the 2025 NFL Draft approaching, hosted in Green Bay this time, Packers fans can expect their team to keep mining the Senior Bowl for future contributors. So here were our draft picks last year. Look at how many of them were at the Senior Bowl, guys. Literally all but 3, and one of them was Edgerrin Cooper, who was at the East-West Shrine game.
Here's a guy.
So the players that
why Glover was no good. Sorry, Emilio.
Exactly.
That's fired.
Our draft picks last year, Jordan Morgan with the 25th pick, he was at the Senior Bowl. Edgerrin Cooper, the 45th pick, East-West Shrine Bowl. 58th pick, Javon Bullard, Senior Bowl. Marshawn Lloyd, 88th pick, Senior Bowl. Tyron Hopper, 91st pick, Senior Bowl. Evan Williams, 111, Senior Bowl. 163, Jacob Monk, to the best of my knowledge, was not at the Senior Bowl. He was at some kind of like Carolina All-Star game or something was the only thing I could find on him. Then Katano Ladapo at 169. He was a Senior Bowl participant. Travis Glover, Emilio's man there, he was not. And then Michael Pratt was at the Senior Bowl. We drafted him at 245. And then Kalen King at 255. He was at the Senior Bowl. So again, that's what? 1, 2, I think we said 8. Is that right? 8 players of our whatever it was, 11 picks last year were all Senior Bowl participants. Now, identifying Packer types in the draft. In 2024, we successfully narrowed the field down to 7 players who fit the Green Bay Packers draft profile, 2 of whom the Packers ultimately selected, those 2 being Tyron Hopper, 3rd rounder, and Katano Ladapo in the 5th round. This year, we'll create a similar short list of prospects. The criteria are straightforward. Each player must meet the Packers' athletic threshold, and that's the element I'm going to add in this year to kind of narrow it down a little bit more if we can. Players with incomplete athletic profiles but not yet disqualified will be included. Let me explain what that means. We now have the heart emojis, the heart eye emoji updated on the draft board. Anybody who has that heart eye emoji, they have not been disqualified by the Packers athletic threshold. And the key, like if you go to like one of my favorite draft guides every year is Packer Report. They do an excellent job with this. They've got the guys narrowed down there like best fits, some that are still, kind of medium fits, and then others that haven't been disqualified because they're lacking the measurements, right? They didn't do the complete testing. So I say leave all of those guys on the list just to make sure, all right? So I just wanted to point that out. Now, they must have attended the Reese's Senior Bowl and must have been a top 30 pre-draft visit with the Packers. With the 2025 draft approaching, hosted in Green Bay this time, we'll use these filters to pinpoint potential targets, building on the team's proven strategy of valuing Senior Bowl standouts who align with their athletic preferences. So what we did was we took the board here and we went ahead and identified those players that meet the criteria so far, okay? So obviously the top 30 visits is going to really narrow that down. So there's your top 30 visits before we got to add the cornerback in here later on this evening. But now you'll notice the players that are highlighted in gold there. That means top 30 visit, okay? And they also meet the athletic threshold, and they also were participants at the Senior Bowl. Does that make sense? So those 4 prospects that really pop out right now are Shamar Stewart, edge defender. Then you got to drop down to TJ Sanders, defensive tackle. Then Jacob Bayer, center from Arkansas State. And then Anthony Belton, offensive tackle from NC State. Those are the 4 that pop. And again, that means athletic threshold. They have not been disqualified from that, and they won't be. The testing is done, essentially. Top 30 visit, the athletic threshold, and, of course, the Senior Bowl. I want to get your all's thoughts on that because I think it's kind of cool to kind of identify those guys. Again, we narrowed it down to 7, and they drafted 2 of those. I'm going to – if I can find a site to actually put a little action on this year's draft, I'm going to bet everybody that ends up on the final list because usually the odds are really, really good.
You're going to hit a couple of them probably.
Probably will, and you'll come out.
Especially this guy right here, Arkansas. Let's go.
I actually was just going to bring that up, Tim, and obviously Clayton. If you would imagine a scenario like this, wherever he has them projected, we get him. Where do you guys have him on your board, and where do you realistically think that Jacob Bear may fall or get drafted?
Let's see here, where I had it sorted like that earlier. Do it off. I know he's around the 100 mark. You're talking about Jacob Bear, right?
Yes. So you're thinking maybe roughly 3rd or 4th. You could see him realistically going.
Jacob Bear is in the 112 spot for us. Now his projection is like 5th, 6th.
Okay.
So just like we've got some players like Kyle Williams, we've got significantly lower that'll probably go much higher. In this case, we got Jacob Bear significantly higher, but he'll probably go much lower. That makes sense.
Right.
That answer your question.
Do you see the point I'm getting at is, do you see them having a diamond in the rough type scenario, almost like the Jaden Reed thing, where in the picks in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th, they really think that he could be a player that could help them? And if so, are they willing to kind of trade back and maybe get some more draft capital? And if they actually have that much faith in Jacob Bear that he could be a starting center, is there any credence to the fact that they could plug and play him as the starting center as a rookie, allow Jenkins to go back to guard? We obviously signed Banks, so you're thinking they're definitely going to make Banks another guard. Does that force a competition at left tackle between Walker and Jordan Morgan? And are we more set at the offensive line than we maybe think we are, and we don't need as many late round? You know what I'm trying to say? Like one pick from Jacob Bear completely offset a lot of the needs at the offensive line position is what I'm asking.
Yeah, no, for me, if I had to put money on it, if Jacob Bear was drafted by the Packers, no matter what round, would he have a shot at winning the starting center job? Absolutely not. Yeah. That's me personally. I think it's a long shot they draft him. And you're going, Clayton, you just highlighted this. The reason he made this list, guys, is because he was a Senior Bowl participant and a top 30 visit, right? And for people that go, oh, they'd never be interested in Jacob Bear. Okay, hell of a smoke screen they sent there with that top 30 visit, right?
And keep in mind, it's okay to draft a guy, bring him to camp, and then you're not in love with him, and off he goes. You release him. It happens all the time. All
the time, yeah. And here's the thing, like that's narrowing the list down to 1, 2, 3, 4 players, right, that we've got now. Now, when you throw in the athletic threshold aspect of this, right, this is what you got to say. Although there are several more top 30 visits still to take place for the Packers, the short list right now includes Shamar Stewart and TJ Sanders, who check all 3 boxes. So that's that extra layer we added this year, okay? So of those 4 players, only Shamar Stewart and TJ Sanders check all 3 boxes, the athletic threshold, the top 30 visit, as well as Senior Bowl participants. So those are the 2 that I feel like are, boy, if the board falls just right, they'll probably jump all over. And there's nothing to say that they won't unless the interviewing and the testing process that's all kept private at Lambeau when they come in for the top 30 visits just goes absolutely horrible. And that could be the case. That could be the case for sure. So just wanted to kind of point that out. And again, when you look at those players, it's Shamar Stewart, he's in the 15 spot. TJ Sanders is in the 40 spot. Jacob Bayer's in the 112 spot. Again, he doesn't meet the athletic threshold because he's 6'2", but he was a top 30 visit. And then Anthony Belton at 145. So it kind of feels like first round, second round, third round, fourth round right there, don't it?
Yep. I like your logic though, Clayton.
Probably means
we're not saying they're going to draft all of these guys, but the likelihood is, that's the list you want to probably work from.
I bet you one of them, at least one out of 4, and I bet you at least 4 or 5 out of that whole grouping, or maybe that's crazy.
Yeah,
but
it's true.
Dave's MX6 Garcia says Donovan Jennings was a top 30 visit last year. He did get a nice UDFA bonus though. So that's the other thing is like, you're going to have some of these guys meet the criteria that end up being UDFAs. We had some of those. That the draft picks is all I include. I didn't even include like Donovan Jennings, and I want to say there's a couple of like Omar Brown we ended up signing too. Remember?
Yep.
I think he was one that kind of fit not the entire threshold, but just another guy that was like I think he might have been a top 30. I could be wrong there, but anyway, it's just something to another way to look at the draft and look at the board and go, okay, I'm always trying to look at how can we zero the target in, and the athletic threshold might be a little too much added to it. But then again, I'm eager to see once we get that final list down. If that takes a list from a 7 to 10 down to 2 to 6, and they end up drafting 3 of those 6, I'm going to be pretty fired up about it. So H.E. Soda with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, what we really need is for the Titans or Browns to pass on quarterback and then look to move back up. Great chance to trade back. Steelers are the problem. That's very interesting because this whole time I'm going, man, I want as many quarterbacks taken before the Packers pick. But that's a great point. If Shedeur Sanders falls, and it sounds like he's slipping right now, if he does fall and someone wants to climb back up, trade up to 23, that's a great point, Soder. And for a quarterback, people will overpay if they really like that quarterback. They will give maximum draft capital there. So since we're on the topic here, no, matter of fact, let's make that a separate topic if we can. I was going to bring up the whole Deion Sanders thing. I heard Ryan talking about it earlier today.
Yeah. Did you catch his pod this morning?
Yeah, I got through that part. I don't know if I finished the pod because like I said, we got rained out, but I did hear his take on that. And I think my take is going to be way different than his and probably way different than your all's as well. But again, thank you for the super chat, Soder. That's a great point. I didn't even look at it that way, man. Is there anything else you guys want to hit on here with what we've covered? Jacob, did you have any other questions or other comments like you had mentioned with Jacob Bayer? I honestly don't see him being able to win a starting job if the Packers do draft him late. I think that they want to go with Rasheed Walker. They want to go with, Rasheed Walker, Aaron Banks, Elton Jenkins. I think they want Jordan Morgan to win that right guard job, but if it's Sean Ryan, so be it. And then, of course, right tackle, the stud Zach Thomas about to get the bag. Do you think there's a shot, Jacob? You asked us. I want to ask you, man. Do you think there's a shot somebody like Jacob Bayer could win the starting job there?
Not realistically, no. I mean, honestly, like a 5 to 10% chance, barring an injury. Another possibility would be like if Monk just comes up and all of a sudden it's like this guy is the future center. Like I just want the best 5 out there. So I just am trying to, fiddle with scenarios and find out. But just to put a cap on this convo, Coach Len says Belton seems like a classic late round pick by Goody. He really, really does, especially if he were to fall even farther than that 4th or 5th round projection. I just really, really like the way that guy, he just everything about him that we did that deep dive on him. It seems more and more likely if there was one of the 4, it seems like that dude I'd put my big money on.
Yeah.
And, like going back to Bayer too, like that's a guy that might be able to like play his way onto the team and perhaps get himself a spot as a backup. But yeah, winning the starting spot probably out of the question at this point.
Definitely. All right. There you go, guys. Again, just a little update on kind of what to look for in terms of the prospects that we think the Packers may be on. And if we were to drop that down now and pull up our big board, let's just take a quick gander at it. Now that we've got all of the threshold information in, there'll be nothing else changed with the heart eye emojis, and we can change it if y'all want to. I thought it was kind of fun putting the little that's Goody with the googly eyes going, this guy looks perfect to us, So is there any position you guys would like to see? Like if we were to look at, we've been looking at the bullseye, we could sort it now. Let's just go with the cheese, meaning all the players the Packers have met with at some point. Really your top 5 on the list: Colston Loveland at tight end, James Pierce Jr. at edge, Kenneth Grant at defensive tackle, Shamar Stewart at edge, then Jahdae Barron, Walter Nolan, Emeka Egbuka, Jihad Campbell, Michael Williams, and we'll go ahead and throw Josh Simmons in there as well. Those all feel like, really Savon Revel too, if he's completely healthy. Those all feel like guys that could potentially be a pick there with pick 23. Many people are talking about Donovan Ezaraku as well. Yep. I like him, but he does not meet the threshold. Doesn't mean Goody won't go off cuff, but I don't think he's ever gone off cuff in the first round though to do this. So.
I like the D line group too. Kenneth Grant. You got Walter Nolan in there, Tyleik Williams, Alfred Collins. I think it's realistic we could see defensive line at 23 as well in this draft. It's a possibility.
I really like this grouping of players. There's not like a single one other than maybe I'd scratch my head with Shamar just because we talked about that. It's a ball of clay that was another project. Jihad Campbell because of the injury. Same with Simons. Donovan Ezaraku just because of the size and the fit. Matthew Golden, I'm just not a fan of. But other than that, I mean, honestly, any single one of these, I am just jazzed about, especially with the concept of we do the trade back. It's such an intriguing draft, dude. The first 2-3 rounds are going to be unbelievable.
Yeah. Greg Rice says, should all RAS testing be mandatory? If so, how would you enforce that? No. Nothing in this country should be mandatory. That's how I've always felt. It's a free country, man. You can do whatever you want. Now, there's going to be penalties with that. Teams are going to go, man, he didn't want to compete, right? Yep. And those prospects are facing stuff like that. But I never liked that. You know, it's like the whole Deion Sanders thing. Let's talk about it real quick. We got a few minutes here. You guys know what we're referring to, right? Where Deion jumped on the scout at the pro day, right? And basically told him, don't listen to this guy. He said, he basically
told his players not to listen to the scout, right?
Yeah. Right. So, and I heard Ryan talking about it, and I love how passionate Ryan is about it. We tend to drive away in different directions on topics like this a little bit, because the way I look at the pro day is not the combine, you know? And let me give you guys a little backstory. There's a video that surfaced. I would play it, but I'm sure somebody's already posted on YouTube. AI will grab it and they'll go, they stole our video, and we'll be in trouble. Okay. So, and unfortunately, we're not live on Rumble right now, or else that wouldn't even be an issue. So basically what happened was there's a video that surfaced of a scout showing the Colorado Buffalo players how to run the 40. When I say how to run the 40, showing them how to get down in a 3-point stance, get set, and go, right? Well, Deion walks over and basically says, y'all do what y'all do. Do what you do. Don't worry about what the F he says. Something along those lines, right? And Ryan was very, very animated. Like, man, who, you know, he sided with, like, you know, it's rude to act like that. And again, you guys go listen to the podcast. I don't want to misspeak for him. I can see that. Would I have responded that way? No. But if I walked up and felt like that scout is out of line, like, the scout, it's not a combine. This is the Colorado Pro Day. The teams, you know, they didn't go to the teams and go, y'all, please come look at our players. The team said, hey, put on a pro day and we'll come watch them, right? So Deion has full control, and he's very, very protective of his players. Why is he protective of his players? Go watch the 30 for 30, I think it was, where he dumps the water on the reporter in the Atlanta Braves locker room during the World Series. Like, he had a lot of run-ins with the media, and he doesn't like how these players are sometimes treated. Now, you can disagree with that. I disagree with him most of the time on that, in that regard. But if they're invited into that pro day and this scout got out of line trying to tell them exactly how to run the 40-yard dash, this and that, again, Colorado was putting the pro day on, not the scouts. So to me, it kind of felt like the scout was overstepping his boundaries a little bit. And when you look at scouts, we're not talking about a general manager. Guys,
no, we're not talking about a coach either. These are scouts. Yeah.
This is a scout. Like, understand, they are scouts everywhere. Like, and listen, I've been offered the opportunity. Hey, would you like to get into scouting? And I immediately, I got a business to run. Like, what kind of money are we looking at? What kind of hours?
You want to travel 325 days out of the year
and be extremely underpaid and live out of a hotel room?
Yeah. Like, go be a scout.
Yeah. So it's not like these guys are like these upper echelon. Hey, look, let me show you how to. It seems to me like this dude kind of overstepped his boundaries a little bit. And you look at the way the players reacted on the tape; they're kind of grinning, looking at him like, "What, Coach Prime just put him in his place?" Because it was just, I don't know, the whole thing was strange to me. I've never seen that happen at a pro day where one single scout's off to the side and it's like he's trying to tell people how to run a 40-yard dash. So anyway, I tend to lean toward Coach Prime getting defensive over his players. I was looking for a comment from him, but I couldn't find anything. So obviously the cameras are everywhere. They're going to pick up on the video. I want to get your all's take on that, because I have a sneaking suspicion I'm probably in the extreme minority here, but I try to look at it through, you know, the rules and parameters of said pro day. This is Colorado's event. Who the hell is this scout coming in here trying to all of a sudden take charge and tell our play? And what Deion was saying was like, run the 40 how you want to run the 40.
Right.
They're here as guests for us. They don't run our show here. So I want to get your all's take on it.
I mean, just listening to Ryan's pod, I think like what I got from it, you know, his kind of point was, you know, the execution could have been better on Deion's part, like to be that example to your players and to maybe step and grab that scout and walk them and have a conversation rather than cussing them out in front of your players and telling your guys, hey, you don't have to do that. It was kind of like I felt like his take was the execution could have been better. It's not a good look to just be cussing out scouts, but you know, I think you bring up a really good point though. It's not the scouts pro day. It's Colorado's pro day, and they're not anybody's players but Deion until they're drafted. So I can understand him being defensive. We know his whole story. The whole reason he agreed to get into coaching at the collegiate level. He's been asked several times about going to the NFL, and he said he didn't want to. He wanted to help young players, you know, on their way to becoming pros. And I think it's something he takes seriously, and that's probably why he got a bit defensive when it came to some scout telling his guys how to stand running a 40-yard dash. You know, so I get your point, Clayton.
Yeah, and look, Prince knows what we're talking about. He says, Tim McCarver, quote, "Oh, you're a real big man, Deion." You guys got to see that. You can find it on YouTube where this dude was running his mouth on Deion. Deion snuck back in during the victory party in the locker room and hit old boy in the face with some ice water or something because he'd been talking trash about Deion all week long. What I don't respect is when people talk behind other people's back. Like we say it on this pod all the time. If I wouldn't say it to a player or a coach's face, I'm not saying it on this pod. That's chicken poopy. Go ahead, Jacob. What's your take on this, man?
I'm not even gonna pretend. I honestly don't care. I just don't. Like, to me, it's Deion has a certain way of coaching. His players have a certain way of understanding the way he coaches. Anybody else from the outside looking in can kind of go kick rocks. And at the same time, like, it seems like a real kind of clickbaity type thing just to get people talking. Not saying that's what you did, but I'm just saying it feels like Coach Prime is always going to be button heads with the media in some type of way. And I feel like this was just another reason for the media to kick up a story, to get a quote, to stir some drama. And I think Deion did the same thing because it's like anytime, especially during pre-draft, most news is good news unless you're Isaiah Bond. You know what I mean?
If Deion's done one thing, it's been being consistent, right? Deion has been Deion since day one. He'll be that till the very end. He's consistent. So I'm with you, Jacob, to a certain extent. Like, I don't understand why anyone's even shocked or appalled anymore. It's like this is how dude rolls, you know. It'd be like being mad at Dennis Rodman for having purple hair.
Well, so I didn't hear anything about were the students or the players, were they so offended they needed to have comment? Was Deion so offended that it needed to be a story? Was the scout even so offended that it needed to be brought up? I feel like it was just a thing that happened.
Yeah. Right. Or like somebody else was standing on the sideline and just overheard it, and then they ran right with the story.
Oh my
God.
Away.
Yeah. Exactly. So again, we're talking about, because Greg Rice said, should all RAS testing be mandatory? If so, how would you enforce that? Just kind of having this conversation about it. Chuck says many employers have mandatory testing before being hired. How can you justify that take? They do have mandatory testing. If the league wants to do mandatory testing, they can do that. Yep. But also, it's a free country. The players can say, no, not doing it. And guess what? It's a free country. The employers can go, I'm not hiring you. But this whole idea of like, herd them up like cattle, boys. You want to play in the league, you better jump for me. I just can't subscribe to that.
And you're right. The NFL would have to, clear that through the NFLPA, right? And they'd have to make this a part of the CBA with the players and make it official. They haven't done that. So,
right. Exactly. Jay Beesky 12 says Pac Daddy took the other side, but to be honest, I agree with Primetime. There you go. And listen, I understand Ryan's standpoint too. Like, it's not like whoa, what a horrible take. I was listening to it going, yeah, man, that's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good
totally
point.
Valid. Yep.
Yeah. But at the end of it, I was like, I think I probably, and again, we don't know all the details, but I kind of side with Coach
I think
Brown.
maybe like to Tim's point, and if I understood Ryan correctly, it was more like, okay, you're supposed to be this leader of men, this developer of character, and that's how you are showing a prime example of how you deal with adversity. It's like cussing a guy out, making him seem maybe insignificant or small. Mm-hmm. I would agree that like that's not a good look, but it's football. It ain't touch football with feelings attached.
That's the thing. Like when people and Ryan, I'm not saying Ryan did this at all, but I hear a lot of fans, they get upset, like with Aaron Rodgers. He's yelling at he's yelling at his teammate. Y'all have never been in a damn huddle, boy. Let me tell you. Y'all have never been in a locker room. There are fists flying in the locker room. And then you go out on that field and you headbutt, you strap it up, and you go to battle with each other, right?
I'll do you one better. I don't want to be a part of a team that guys aren't doing that.
Exactly.
Because then nobody gives a crap. There's no passion. There's no standard. Nobody's trying to hold each other accountable.
Bingo.
It's normal to see a little fire and brimstone, a little frustration, right? You're trying to pick your guys up.
Yeah. Adam Block said it's called setting boundaries. That's probably a good way of explaining how I felt about it. Like, you got to know, all right, going in, this is our pro day. We're running this thing. And it gets just weird. Like, I think Drew said it. Yeah, here we go. Perfect. Drew said, I kind of feel like we just don't have enough info on about what exactly was going on. Because, like, in that whole situation, who was this guy? How did he get down in the front of all of the players telling them how to run the 40? You know? And it's
That's
obvious
interesting.
Dion didn't appoint him. But you know what? If we were to play devil's advocate, it may have been a situation where someone at Colorado's pro day did appoint him and Dion didn't know it, and then Dion spoke out of line.
Well, I was going to say, dude, every combine I've ever watched, you remember they gather up and there's an instructor who literally says, this is how you do it. You have to hold it for a second. If your arm goes up before it goes, you know, we've all seen that. So
Yep.
maybe it was just a guy thinking, this is my job. This is what I got to say. And to that point, maybe, yeah, that is a little bit annoying if Dion just went and berated some random dude that got hired to do specifically what he did.
That's
Like-
the thing, though. According to Dion,
It was
in
a
his
scout.
reaction, he wasn't hired to do that.
Yeah.
So this is
So I'm
something.
wondering, but that could be an indictment on Colorado's pro day too. Like, maybe
Bingo.
they didn't have their guy there.
That's-
Maybe their guy wasn't there, and now some scout walks over and is, playing John Madden.
I
for
can
the
picture
day,
him snapping his, all right, boys, I got this. I got it. Everybody line up over here. Let me
He's
show
got
you how
those
to do it.
polyester shorts on from the 1980s.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Chuck Jaggers says Dion should protect his boys. We all wish we had a kid in that college. It's Dion coaching. Hey, that's the thing too. That's what draws people to Coach Prime. And listen, that program is, boy, he flipped that thing real quick.
Yep.
And it's because they know Dion's going to go to bat for the players. Like, they know that Dion is. And listen, there's a certain level of, that's Deion Sanders. We're going to get nationally televised games. That's a big part of why these prospects want to go there and play and get their talent showcase as well. So I'm glad we covered it. That was a good conversation. I love hearing everybody's different viewpoints on it, because there's going to be many times that I disagree. And sometimes you'll hear me all the time on this pod. I'll look up and go, damn, I'm in the minority, because I'm wrong here. Something's, I wanted to see what everybody was kind of saying. It looks like it's somewhat split, but again, I definitely agree that it's everything's blown out of proportion for sure. So, all right, that's going to do it for hour one. For those of you listening on the pod, we will see you on the other side, where we're going to do us a mock draft and see if we can uncover a little bit more information on where the Packers sit in all 7 rounds, and see if we can learn you a little bit better during this draft season. We'll see you on the other side for hour 2. Appreciate you.
For those of you listening on the pod,
Welcome into hour 2. All right, was anything else y'all want to hit before we jump into a mock draft? Anything at all? Anything on the forefront of your mind? Maybe something you thought of while we were having those conversations before we get deep into this mock here.
Yeah, who's going to show me how to run the 40 at the draft in a couple of weeks? You going to give me some guidance, Clayton?
I'm gonna pay some random schmuck to come over there and just start instructing you without you knowing that I paid him to do it. That's what I'm gonna do. Anything?
What
Jake?
he's going to say is, first you got to put the beer down, you got to stretch a little bit, and pretend like you're not in your 40s.
What are your thoughts? I've seen random comments here or there, not just today, but talking about how the Packers may be secretly in the running to get a running back at some point. Jay Beesky 12 says, guys, I got to run. Great stuff. My hot take, Green Bay takes a running back earlier than we think makes sense, which would be at all for most people's, radar, myself included. But what if Marshawn Lloyd still has some hiccups on the recovery? What if, God forbid, something happens in our running back room? But I mean, we still got Jacobs, we got Brooks, we got
Emmanuel Wilson.
Emmanuel Wilson.
Yep.
I don't see a situation where we would want to stir up that. But is there any chance that you guys see that there is a back anywhere before the 4th round that you think that Goody he can't pass it up? He just can't.
If you need 4 running backs, right? Now, if you draft one before the 4th round, they've got to make the roster, period, case closed. You're not sneaking them onto a practice squad, right? So
there's only like 3 or 4 of those guys in this draft.
yeah, if you've got someone like let me pop it back up here. Matter of fact, we were going to get right into the mock draft, but let's just hit this real quick if I can. Let me get that line back up.
Jacobs' buddy, Cam, Arizona State.
Oh, I love
So-
it. Scatterboo.
If we were to look at halfbacks here. Let's drop it down. Let's just go with the normal board. Obviously, at the top of the list is Ashton Gianti. If you can get Ashton Gianti outside of the first round, yeah, I would take him. Ain't no way he's going to be
There's
there.
no way he'll be there, right?
No way. So next, you've got Omarion Hampton. Do I think he'll be there when the Packers pick in the second round? No, I don't. He's too good. He's 30 on our board. I think he'll be long gone. Next, you got Quinshon Judkins. Now you're getting in that range where I'm like, would you really take him and say, okay, we're going to replace Emmanuel Wilson with him or Chris Brooks with him? If you replace Chris Brooks with someone with a third or a fourth round pick, they've got to make the roster. Now you're definitely carrying 4 as opposed to 3 and stashing more on the practice squad. So that's where it gets a little bit shaky for me. So I don't see it happening, Jacob. I just don't. Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. I personally don't see it. Now, I'll tell you a player that I really like that's lower on our board if I can find him. Where are you at, sir? Where are you at? Damian Martinez.
Yeah. Cosell was high on him too. Did you hear that?
Loved him, dude.
He said that he may be one of the most underrated running backs in a long time that nobody's talking about that could just jump on the scene and be very productive.
We got him in the 119 spot on our board. He meets the athletic threshold. His PFF grades ranked at his position 44th, 72nd, and 8th. All right. Greg Cosell absolutely raved about him, and his RAS was a 9+ as well. They have him, the 33rd team had him in the 104 spot at the time that we took this information down on Kyle Kraft's list. So that's one that 4th or 5th round, if he somehow makes it there, whoo-wee.
What do you guys think about the kid from Ohio State?
Quinshon Judkins or Travion Henderson?
Travion Henderson, yeah.
Let's see here. Let's see which one we've got higher. I think we got Quinshon Judkins higher, but I could be wrong, Tim. So if we just sort.
That's why I'm thinking Henderson. Maybe Henderson falls, and that would be a guy we grab.
Yeah.
If they're that serious.
So in the order we got is Ashton Gianti, Omarion Hampton, Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Johnson, Travion Henderson. All right, so we got Quinshon Judkins significantly higher than Travion Henderson, about 2 full tiers. So there you go.
Someone told me that Cam Scatterboo sounds like an Adam Sandler movie, and now I can never unhear it. Cam Scatterboo.
Scatterboo.
Scatterboo. Scatterboo.
I like it. All right, there you go. There's a little bonus running back talk that we didn't have on the docket. So let's move it along to the mock draft here. We're going to use PFF, guys. We haven't used PFF in a long time.
Oh,
so
boy.
We're going to jump back into that simulator and see what we got going on here. Okay, so I don't think we should do trades. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but I'm trying to.
Unless we're trading back in the first.
All right, here we go. Let's start this thing. So with the 23rd pick, the best available are Malachi Starks, Luther Burden. I've gotten used to the other one now. All right, Malachi Starks, Luther Burden, Kelvin Banks Jr., Walter Nolan, James Pierce Jr., Omarion Hampton, Colston Loveland, Gray Zabel, Derek Harmon, Kevin Winston Jr., Trey Amos. We got a lot to choose from here. Nick Skorton I like a lot as well. So
I would like to put my vote in for Walter Nolan, please.
All right, so you want Walter Nolan. All right.
Are we not? We're allowed no trade backs? Because this is just, there's too much right there, right? You got Pierce, Nolan. I mean, you could argue Burden.
Calvin Banks.
So what do you want? What do you want to try to trade back to? Like 27-ish?
27 sounds real nice to me. I don't know. Tim, would you accept that?
Yeah, I'm trying to think the last time we did a trade back. I think we went to 27 or 28 and it worked. Yeah.
All right. So we can trade the 23rd pick for the 27th pick and the 91st pick. So we're picking up an extra third to allow them to move up 4 spots. We good with that? That look all right to y'all?
Yep.
All right, let's see if they accept it. I'm sure they will. We don't want to abuse them too much. We probably could have gotten more out of them. So, all right, now on the clock, the Ravens. They went Malachi Starks. Then it was Luther Burden to the Vikings. Gray Zabel went to the Texans, and then Colston Loveland goes to the Rams. So everybody that we liked is still here.
Walter Nolan, you're a Packer.
Walter Nolan, yeah.
It's crazy too because James Pierce Jr. is significantly higher on our board, but again, it's one of those things, undersized. I'm pretty sure he did not meet the threshold. Let me double check. He did not meet the threshold. He's a top 30 visit, though. So he is in the 12th spot. Walter Nolan is in the 19th spot, just to make sure we're not missing anything else D-line-wise here. Yeah, we're good. We're good there. So Walter Nolan's gents.
I think so. What do you think, Jacob?
I'm cool with that. Yeah.
Just
For me,
take a
it'd be
look.
either Pierce or Nolan.
Yeah.
Yep, and Jade Barron, just to confirm, is gone. Will Johnson's gone. What about Emeka Egbuka? Is Emeka Egbuka
He gone. He went 20th to the
Trey Amos
Broncos.
is on the board. That'd be a bit of a reach, though, right?
Yeah, and this is a good time to talk about this. Elik Ayamaner, I think is how you say that name. Some people say Elik Ayamaner. There was a report on an NBC website that the Packers had him in for a top 30 visit. I was chatting with Easton Butler earlier today, and he was like, "What in the world?" They said that it was either Tom Pelissero or Tom Silverstein that reported it, and he's like, "That's not true." So Easton Butler pretty much confirmed Ayamaner has not been in for a top 30 visit with the Packers. If you guys have heard the same thing we heard, like Ryan talked about it on the pod, and I immediately reached out to Ryan. I was like, "Oh crap, where did you hear that at?" Because I kind of like Elik, even though he's a little lower on our board. And he was like, he showed me the website, and I'm like, "This is really weird." And I reached out to Easton. He's like, "No, it ain't true." So just a little inside baseball there. So all right, we're going Walter Nolan, right, boys?
Yeesh.
All right, with the 27th pick, the Green Bay Packers. Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. All right, what positions we want to see here at pick 54, gents?
Man, once again, I'd love Morrison, Ian Allen, JT, Demetrius. It's tough.
So we got our defensive tackle, right? Let's throw edge on there. Let's throw cornerback on there. Let's throw wide receiver on there. And that's probably enough right now. I feel like those are the top needs, right? So, yeah. So it's Princely Uman-Milan, all right. Edge defender out of Ole Miss is there. Benjamin Morrison, like Jacob said, cornerback out of Notre Dame's there. JT Tuamaloa, I think is how you say it. Jalen Royals, Jared Ivey, Darian Porter, Kyle Williams, Trey Harris is there. Trey Harris. Now, where's Jaden Higgins, Tim?
He gone.
Drafted. He gone.
So he went 47. So it's sounding like now Jaden Higgins is out of reach with 54. So if the Packers truly do like him a lot, maybe they would have to trade back up in the second round to grab him. But again, I've got Trey Harris and him neck and neck on our board, so I'll be okay with
What I'm saying. If we want to go receiver here, I don't think it's a reach to grab Trey Harris. But the argument would be maybe Jalen Royals or a corner here.
Right. I'm trying to see where we got Benjamin Morrison because we've got him lower on our board than most people. And I know we're definitely in the minority with that. Let me see here. Where's he at? Oh, he's evading me. Anybody else you like here, Jacob, as I look up this name here, man?
I mean, honestly, I'd be fine with Morrison, Princely, JT, Ivy, Porter, but I really do like Trey Harris, and I want us to get one of those kind of big stud wide receivers that we just plug and play.
Yeah. So go ahead.
No, sorry. If I had to really choose right now, man, Benjamin Morrison, if that hip is healthy, he just is being more and more intriguing to me. That guy, when he's healthy, is just an absolute shutdown corner in certain aspects. But there's too much edge right there for me to. I don't know. Tim, what are you doing?
It's tough, man. Here's how the board sits, Tim. Let me explain. Benjamin Morrison's in the 76 spot on our board. All right. Princely is in the 53 spot. All right. JT is in the 43 spot. So he's the highest so far. Jalen Royals, I think, is a little bit lower. He's significantly lower. He's not even on the page right now. Jared Ivey, where do we have Jared Ivey? Jared Ivey's in the 51 spot. So it's JT. He does meet the athletic threshold as well. That's, again, JT Tuamaloa, if I'm saying that name correctly. Darian Porter, we've actually got him higher than Benjamin Morrison. I know most people will probably disagree with that. We've got Darian Porter in the 69 spot as where Benjamin Morrison's in the 76 spot. So, Tim, you answer Jacob's question with the knowledge of JT Tuamaloa is the highest on the board that I'm showing right here, man.
I'm a bad person to answer this question because I'm in the minority with edge, man. I don't see edge as big of a priority.
I agree
in this draft.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get a receiver or a corner here.
I think I want Trey Harris.
Yeah, Trey Harris is in the 49 spot. He would be our next.
To me, that's the pick.
Let's go Trey Harris.
I've always said that. It was either I like Jalen Royals as well and a couple other guys, but that's always been my backup plan for Jaden Higgins is Trey Harris.
And keep in mind too,
one or the other.
if we go Trey Harris here, we come back and we have 2 picks within 4
It's a great
slots.
point.
So
Yeah.
I think we could definitely grab Trey Harris here, come around and hit our cornerback and our D line again, and see what we're left
Or
with.
even
Possibly
O-line
offensive
again.
line.
Yeah.
Trying to see. Yeah, so we're coming back at pick 87. So Trey Harris would definitely be gone. His average draft position is 74.6. So I think it's unanimous. We're going Trey Harris here.
Let's do it.
All right. We're going to go with the 54th pick. The Green Bay Packers are selecting Trey Harris, wide receiver out of Ole Miss.
All right, now let's get Amos and make this an Ole Miss draft. No, we could get Chris Paul Jr.
Is that Mason Taylor? Holy, hold the phone here a second. Mason Taylor is 39 on our board, and he is a perfect athletic threshold meet. By the way, you know how we talk about all the cells being filled, and I'm not talking about the clink. I'm talking about all the boxes on our spreadsheet here. Everything's filled. Senior Bowl week bonus, whether it was the East-West Shrine or the Senior Bowl, he stood out there. The RAS is a 9+, and Greg Cosell gave him a 3-point bonus as well. Man, Mason Taylor, I know tight end isn't a big need, but the value there is unbelievable. That's crazy. What other positions you guys want to see?
Take Jalen Noel. Let's double dip at receiver.
Ooh, Harold Fannin.
I'm joking. I like Harold Fannin Jr. If we're talking tight ends.
Mhm.
I do. I'm with you, Jacob. Big fan of his tape. Been watching a lot of film on him.
Can we look at cornerback real quick?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we need one of those, or 2 or 3.
So this is what we're talking about with Kyle Williams. Let's address this real quick. Like you see right now is the time to draft him according to the PFF mock draft, right? On our board, however, Kyle Williams is in the 157 spot. People love him, man. They love him. Anyway, I keep coming back to that. I'm like, that feels like one of these players this year that we're either going to look back and go, man, we were way wrong on him, or we're going to look up and go, everybody else was way wrong on him because they love him right now. So,
It would be an interesting sequence if we went Mason Taylor and came back and did a Darian Strong or a Jacob Parrish. United Bates brings up an interesting factoid here. Taylor is the son of Pro Football Hall of Fame defensive end Jason Taylor and the nephew of Pro Football Hall of Fame Zach Thomas.
yeah, Zach Thomas. Right.
That's
other
it.
than
Draft him. Run the card.
That's
But
I like
his
it.
aunt is Joy Taylor. So just keep that.
Get him off the board.
So I was trying to find Jalen Noel real quick just to make sure.
Where's he on our board? I'm curious.
Because, I mean, he was one of those guys that really stood out to us. He's in the 103 spot.
Mm.
So, I mean, he is way lower than Mason Taylor.
I mean, I like Mason Taylor here too, but I just, to Jacob's point, like, what is the cornerback? What are those picks going to look like beyond this round?
If you go Taylor, I feel like you got to come back and go Strong and then Parrish, one of the two.
And now Dorian Strong on our board is in the 151 spot. Let's see where Parrish is. Jacob Parrish. Jacob Parrish is higher at 130. So
he can, in theory, be there probably.
yeah, so if we could get Jacob Parrish, he's going to be at 107.4. Well, he'll definitely be there at 91. So if we go Mason Taylor, then come back for Jacob Parrish, that might be the play here. What y'all think?
Where's help me with my curiosity. Where's Harold Fannin Jr. on our board?
I want to say we've drafted him several times. I want to say he is around the 100 mark.
That's what I was thinking.
No. He's actually 65th, Tim. 65th.
Okay.
So he's 65th, and Mason Taylor is 39th.
Yeah,
so if we had a corner, we like better than Jacob Parrish here. We go, hey, let's go grab him, right? Like, let's just look at corners.
Like Kobe or Noah Williams?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see which one is higher on our board here. Kobe is 142, and everybody loves Noel, but he's significantly lower on our board. He's 174. So Jacob
Let's trust
Parrish
the board then.
Yeah. And if you look at Jacob Parrish too, let me make sure he meets the athletic threshold. That might be the thing.
He's a little short was the only thing with him, maybe.
What about Dorian Strong too up there? Where is he on our board?
Dorian Strong's in the 151 spot.
Okay, so we're lower on Mr. Hokey.
Yeah, so Jacob Parrish, he does not have the athletic threshold. That's the only thing. He's versatile. We got him as a V, but now you get later in the draft, you may bend those a little bit, obviously.
I think we should figure out whether we're going Fanning or if we're gonna take a play on
If we're
Taylor.
going tight end, we're going Taylor here. I would think, right?
You think so? Because that's
Yeah.
so different, though,
He's
right?
trusting
Mason
our
Taylor's more
board,
of that
though.
inline. Fannin Jr. is one of the best offensive weapons in this draft. I'm just
Have you looked
saying.
at Mason Taylor? He's hearing Greg Cosell talk about him, like he may be the best route running tight end in the entire draft. So I'm high on Harold Fanning Jr. too. I honestly don't see Mason Taylor being around this long. Some people are saying he may go in the second round.
Mason Taylor is not graded out very well, but I tell you, he does look intriguing, huh? 6'5", 255, 20.9 years old.
Let's see what we got. You said he didn't grade out well? How is he so
PFF, he was a 58.3 in 2022, a 60.9. 2024 was a 67.8.
So we have him in 22, 196, then 190th, and then last year he jumped all the way to 62nd. PFF Big Board had him at 55. Consensus Big Board had him at 75. He was one of the standout players during the All-Star Game week. Daniel Jeremiah has him at 35. Kyle Krabs had him at 63. Dane Brugler had him at 37. The RAS, obviously a 9+, and Greg Cosell loved him as well.
I like the PFF write-up on him. He's young and could still be growing into his talent and more. In his current form, he is currently a tight end 2 or 3 candidate. So that would be what we're kind of in the market for, right? We're kind of looking for a Luke Musgrave contingency plan here.
Yeah. Bates asks, what is Fannin compared to that? Just number 1 in 2024, number 1 in 2023.
And hearing Daniel Jeremiah talk about him too was like the whole offense had to run through him. So that was one thing that kind of made me go, all right, it's Bowling Green. Daniel Jeremiah's kind of hinting at like if this guy was on another team, the offense, he wouldn't have been the best target on the field type thing. You guys seen those high schools? Remember back when you were in high school, it's like they had that one player that he did every damn thing. It sounds like that's not a negative on Harold Fannin. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, that's
like me at the office, man. I'm the only one that can do the cool tricks. You know, it gets aggressive. I start getting rashes.
Harold
Fannin, you guys are going to hate me, but can we look at offensive line before we pull the trigger on a tight end here?
Also, I just want to say this about Harold Fannin Jr. I think he had a 7 RAS as well. So that doesn't mean Goody wouldn't draft him, but just he did not test out as well as people thought he might. You want to see offensive line, Tim? Is that
tackle?
Right?
Yeah, let's look at interior and tackle.
That's a good idea, Tim.
Wyatt
I like
Malone.
Wyatt Malone.
Where's Wyatt Malone on our board?
So right now we're on Mason Taylor, right? So let's see where these guys hit here. Tate Ratledge. Tate Ratledge is 61. All right. Sabanaya is 70. All right. Wyatt Malone is 58.
Hello.
58. Cameron
Williams
is 95th.
Charles Grant was pretty high too, I thought.
Charles Grant is 68th. So right now it was who did we say? Wyatt Malone.
Wyatt Malone.
So we want to make sure that we can get Wyatt Malone and Mason Taylor. All right. So how do we do that? Pick
Taylor
87.
first.
We probably should take Mason Taylor because he should have already been gone by pick 73.
Yep.
Wyatt Malone is going around 89, so there's a chance he's gone. But
Worst case, we go to Grant, I think.
I agree. Or Tate Ratledge if he falls.
Yeah,
right,
agree.
Cool. So we're going to go Mason Taylor here with the 87th pick. And, of course, Wyatt Malone. Oh, wait, he might still be there. Let me see here.
No, he's there. There he is. He's right there.
Yeah, so we got Wyatt Malone. Are we on board with that? Yes. Here's Anthony Belton. Wasn't he a top 30 visit for us? Am I thinking right, guys?
Yes, he was.
Do not have the list up.
Yeah, he was a top 30 visit. We got him 145 on our board. I just wanted to briefly mention him because it looks like he's going right around top 100. So that's interesting there.
True D is saying Null's still there.
Here's a guy.
All right. So we're going Wyatt Malone, boys. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. We're going offensive tackle out of West Virginia. Wyatt Malone with the 91st pick. So let's do a quick little recap. So with the 27th pick, we traded back to 27. With the 27th pick, we took Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. With the 54th pick, we took his teammate Trey Harris, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. With the 87th pick, we took Mason Taylor, tight end out of LSU, and then with 91 we went tackle Wyatt Malone. What do you guys?
Holy crap! Give me a cornerback, please.
Let's see what we got at corner. We got Noel Williams. Oh, there's
I like him or Elijah Huzzy coming around.
You love them Huzzies, don't you, Jacob?
I do.
All right, so let's see who comes in first here. Noel Williams. Where's Noel Williams? So let me just identify him. All right, there he is. Robert Longerbeam. He is significantly lower, I believe. Yeah, he's way down there. Zy Alexander. Let me just work the board here real quick. You guys, here's Zy Alexander's way higher. Huzzy is significantly lower, it appears. Yeah, he is. Quincy Riley. Where's Quincy Riley at on the board? He must be way down there. Yeah.
Right, people in the chat are a little upset at the Wyatt Malone pick because he did apparently struggle as a tackle in the Senior Bowl, so that's why he is projected to be a guard kicked in. But AM says Millam is a guard. LOL. Well, he played all his college career at tackle. So
yeah, and listen, I'm not going to sit there and get into an argument like this. This is what we're talking about with the threshold industrial complex. People are, there's no way they'll play tackle. And it's, it gets a little weird. There's no reason for us to argue over it. Mm-hmm. I think you're drafting him to be a depth piece, regardless, right? You got Aaron Banks. You feel good about what the starting offensive line looks like now. You're going to have to take an offensive lineman at some point. As a matter of fact, we had a need for 2, I believe, to round out the roster. So back to corner. If we're focused on corner here, Zy Alexander, hands down, is the best prospect here. His grade is a 78.3. Let me resort this, and I'll tell y'all exactly where he's at on the board right now. With a 78.3, Zy Alexander is in the 94 spot. So that would be our corner. Now the question is, do we take him now or try to stretch it out? He'll be gone before the next pick for sure.
I say take him.
Tim, you opposed to Zy Alexander? Is there anybody?
No, my only other thought is if there was another position group we were interested in, we could wait and then maybe grab an Elijah Huzzy or O'Reilly or Donald Fortune or somebody. I know we talked about Edge. We talked about Edge in the first round. I mean, I'd feel more comfortable going Edge where we're at now, depending on what's on the board.
It's crazy, too, because, we said, let's see what we can learn during this mock draft. I'll tell you exactly what I've learned. Zy Alexander looks really good here with the 4th round pick 124 being 94th on our board. The problem, he doesn't meet the athletic threshold. So corner, Tim, gets thinner every damn time we do a mock draft.
It does.
It's like now that the thresholds are in, it gets really, really.
It's almost where, like, if we started this, remember, if we would have started this draft with Morrison, it completely shifts the whole way this draft falls like crazy.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Because it really, really starts to taper off, man. Benjamin Morrison would have been a threshold fit. He'd have been a reach on our board, but he would have been a threshold fit. So, yeah, I'm looking at. I'm trying to just see who's coming up here at corner, and there's.
Can you go back to best available and just see, like Tim said, if we're
Dorian Strong is gone, right?
Yeah, he's gone. Yeah.
What do you want to see, Jake?
Just best available. Yeah. Maybe just scroll a little bit. I mean, I freaking love Isaac Tesla. The more I look about him, he's another exact kind of clone of Trey Harris, 6'4", speedy possession receiver. Mm-hmm. Can you scroll down just a little bit there? Are we looking past Kyle Williams too much or somebody like that? I mean,
again, we're picking. If we're going off my board, no. We can't justify it until the 150s. But like again, I think I'm the only person on the face of the earth that has him lower.
Gosh, that's tough, man. Pegues, no. Willie Lampkin, Ahmad Hassanian, Jack Kaiser.
That's a better. Where's Kaiser on our board?
Kaiser is significantly higher on our board, man.
Yeah, so that's someone who might be there.
And this is a good test here, too. I'm pretty sure he would not. Yeah, he did not meet the threshold, but he's in the 102 spot.
Quick, Clayton, scroll back up before Jacob sees Torrey Horton's name at the bottom of the screen.
I was ready to talk.
I think we're done with wide receiver, right? I mean, we're be damn cutting Christian Watson here once he's healthy. If we keep
never.
So, what are you thinking, boys? Talk to me.
I'm thinking we got to either do Noel Williams or
Noel Williams? Is that what you said?
yeah.
Or the kid from LSU.
Yeah,
That's
Noel
what I
Williams
mean.
is 174 on our board.
I'd go Zai.
Yeah, Zy Alexander.
So we're going to go against the threshold if we go Zy here. So let's do that.
Here's a Zy.
Zy Alexander, cornerback out of LSU.
You are a Packer.
Yes, sir. Let's pick 124. Now pick 54. What do y'all want to see?
Stackbacker and edge.
Yeah.
All right, let's go linebacker.
There we go. Here's
Who you
your
like?
I like Jaw Joyner, but I think it may be a little early. I don't know where you got him, and also Danny Stutz, Maguts there.
Yeah. So we need to see who we got higher here on the board in terms of linebacker, don't we? So Kobe King is 154. Ja Joyner is 239. Cody Simon is 150. Cody Lindenberg is 323. Oof. Danny Stutzman is 93rd.
All
And
right.
he meets
Put him on the board.
He meets the athletic threshold, and the Packers already met with him too.
Get her
Now,
done.
Average draft position 174. A little bit of a reach here, but he will be gone before we pick next time. Tim, you on board with it, bro?
Run that cod.
All right, Danny Stutzman it is, linebacker. And I'm telling you right now, man, with the way he played against the run, I think he would really compete with Isaiah McDuffie as that third, that second outside linebacker in the 4-3 base.
Here's an interesting person. So Jordan Hancock, like I said, has all of a sudden shifted into some people's top 10 cornerbacks of the draft.
It's
I believe
Herbie Hancock.
It's
okay?
Herbie Hancock. Can you click on him and see his where his lineups were throughout his career and see if there's a little maybe hidden gem there?
In the
I don't
slot,
see it.
played safety and played slot. Played slot most of the time.
Yeah, I don't get that. Okay.
Yeah, he's pretty low on our board too. We got him in the 255 spot.
All right, scratch that.
All right, Ty Robinson.
Oh. Jason Marshall, Elijah Badger, Zah Frazier, John
Jason
Williams. I really
Jason
like John
Marshall.
Williams.
Jason Marshall's a top 30 visit, isn't he? Yeah, John Williams is top 30 visit too, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Where do we got Mr. John Williams? We got him in the 289 spot. These guys were way down there. Of course, we are at 189 now. Elijah Badger. I wonder if he's climbed on our board at all. Elijah Badger. Not that we need another one. He's in the 207 spot. So I don't know, man. Wait, Tim, when you look at our picks, what we've taken so far, man, what do we need? You know, what are our needs here, you think? We got D tackle, wide receiver, tight end, tackle, corner, and linebacker.
You know me. I'm thinking defense. So
You always think
I'll take another D tackle. Take Ty Robinson from Nebraska. I don't care. What about hey, where's Malachi Moore from Bama at? And don't everybody, come after me in the chat here for looking at a safety, but I'm just curious.
172, and he meets the threshold, and they say he's extremely intelligent.
I was going to say that's the guy I was thinking of with the high FBI, right?
Yep.
And he also played. Does he have the V next to his name?
He does not. No.
He should. 180 snaps in the slot.
Let me see here. Let me double check here. Malachi does not have the V. How many did you say you had in the slot?
180.
All right, let me throw a V in there, bro. Good catch there,
6
Tim.
foot, 200 pounds. Going to be
That'd
20.
be a-
Going to be 24 as a rookie. So don't tell Goody.
What do you think, Jacob? Any specific position?
Can you scroll a little bit down, just a little bit here? Keep her going. Keep her going. Yeah, other than maybe a Jalen Smith or a Jake Majors, kind of pop off at me a little bit there. Where do you have Jalen Smith on your board, Clayton?
Jalen Smith.
Quarterback out of USC, correct.
Jalen Smith is 213 on our board.
Okay,
He does not meet the threshold.
gotcha. And Jake Majors, real quick.
Corner 2.
No, center from Texas.
Oh, Jake Major. Gotcha. 120, and he meets the threshold.
That to me seems like a decent pick right there.
That seems pretty good, Tim. We said we needed 2 offensive linemen.
I'd go with that. Can we just take one more peek at edge before we pull the trigger?
Yeah, let's go interior offensive line. Let's go edge. Compare the two here.
Fidel Diggs we met with.
What's that?
I said Fidel Diggs we met with. I still think that our guy Majors is popping off the page to me.
Yeah, Tim, do you see any other I don't see any other edge that really stand out, right?
Nope.
All right. I think that's it.
You're right, guys. I think we go with it.
Jake Majors here. All right. Pick 198. We're going center out of Texas, Jake Majors. All right. Pick 237. What do we like? We got our 2 offensive line. We got our backer. We got us 1 corner. We got a tackle. All right. We already got our 2 offensive line. We got a tight end, wide receiver, and D tackle.
Frazier.
Is Malachi Moore still on the board?
Let's see. Malachi Moore is gone, Tim. He is out of here. Shiloh Sanders to bring the circus to town.
Hey, that other guy, Marquez Seigel, that's a guy I thought that was an interesting person.
Seigel.
I don't think we have him on the board. No.
Yeah, we don't.
Can you go back up to the cornerback room real quick? Where do you have Zaw Frazier?
What'd you say, Tim?
It's like, can you go back to edge again?
Yeah, Zaw Frazier's 367.
Damn. Yeah, throw edge in there, will you?
All right, let's go edge. Ethan Downs,
I really like
Jr.
Elijah Alston. Have you ever looked at his measurements? He was amazing last year. I don't know. Can you click on him and just show his little blurb?
Yeah, we got Elijah Alston in the 243 spot. He was 4th at his position in 23, but dropped back to 72nd last year. So the PFF grade should look good there.
Look at that. Just saying.
I would like to make an argument for Johnny Walker Jr., please.
He does not make the threshold either. But the Packers did meet with Elijah Alston. So.
Okay.
Yeah, let's you said Johnny Walker Jr.?
Yeah.
80.1 this last year, not bad.
Where's he at on our board?
I want to say he's extremely low because you guys always got really excited about him, and I had to burst the bubble and say no, he's at 283. So yeah, I think Elijah Alston, if we're going to go edge, would be the pick here. To be honest with you, Packers met with him, but not a threshold fit.
I like it. I don't mind it. You know what I'm coming around? My last pick is, you know who that's going to be?
All right, we're going to go Elijah Alston here at pick 237, edge defender. Add a little depth to the edge.
Round her out with Thor Griffith, and we'll call it a day.
we always got Thor in the back pocket, man. Always, right?
There he is, baby.
Always there. Let's see what we got here. Thor Griffith. He meets the athletic threshold, and he's in the 138 spot. Why does everybody have him so low? There's got to be
click
something.
on him. He's graded out so well his whole career. I don't get it. Look at that.
Is there an injury we don't know about, Tim? Is there something like that, man?
Got me.
Thor Griffith. Help us out, chat. Is there something we don't know about Thor Griffith? Anything at all? I mean, did he steal somebody's social security number? What happened? So there got to be something there, right?
He's played A gap significantly, B gap. I mean,
yeah.
Let's go.
And steady Eddie, like you would say, for
sure. Chuck said, I don't care if he robbed a bank, run the damn car.
His name's Thor.
All right. RAS score. That's a great question there, Deadfish. Let me see where we got Thor's RAS. We do not have an RAS. There's got to be an injury.
He played 13 games in 24, though.
22 and 23 only played 10 games, though. So I'm wondering if maybe that's where it was.
Let me see here. Let's see if we can wake Gronk up real quick and ask him.
Yeah. Find out if he's really 6'2", 320 also.
Mystery.
J. Cole. He did not stop Thanos.
He's struggling to pick his hammer up. There's no publicly available information indicating that Thor Griffith, the Louisville Cardinal defensive tackle, has had any significant injuries during the college football career. Yeah, that's according to Gronk. You don't know everything, but me and Gronk argue sometimes. So. get along all the time. Me and Emilio were on here late one night. We were doing draft board stuff, and I was like, having a conversation with Grok. We had Grok pissed off. It was hilarious. So, all right. Let's just do it. Let's pull the trigger on Thor. All right. We're trying to find a reason not to draft him, and that's just silly. So Thor Griffith is the final pick.
Ooh, 3 awards. That's good.
Not a major award. All right. So here it is, guys. We traded out of pick 23 down to 27, picked up pick 91. In addition to our full draft here, we didn't trade any other picks. So with pick 27, we went defensive tackle Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. Pick 54, we went wide receiver Trey Harris out of Ole Miss. Pick 87, we went tight end Mason Taylor out of LSU. Pick 91, we went tackle Wyatt Malum. Pick 124, we went Zy Alexander, cornerback out of LSU. Pick 159, probably my favorite pick, even though PFF hated it, Danny Stutzman, linebacker out of Oklahoma. Pick 198, we went center Jake Majors out of Texas. Pick 237, Elijah Alston, edge defender out of Miami. And then with pick 250, we went with defensive tackle Thor Griffith out of Louisville. What's your all's thoughts on this draft, boys? That was fun.
Got straight B's. They call us Buzz.
I don't hate it. I don't love it for sure. A few highlights here. Drew D found out that Thor played 4 years at Harvard, then transferred, so he could be older and probably against lesser competition. So obviously that's going to hurt him. Drew D says he is 6'2". And Holmes coming in here, he says he was ejected from the game for targeting a quarterback. I think he may be possibly a bit intense. Quit selling once he made the sale. Hey.
Yeah, our guys better wake up with their piss hot, like I said before. So.
AM drops in and says, y'all are stupid for taking Malone. I appreciate that.
Thanks for stopping in.
Cool.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Deadfish. Thor had 42 on the bench. Good
No
pick.
way.
Drew D says, holy cow, Thor put up 42 reps on the bench. Let's think that justifies the pick right there.
Of course, somebody named Thor put 42 reps up on the bench.
Bruh, 4.95 40 at 6'2", 320 with 42 reps on the bench. What is wrong? Who did he hurt?
Who hurt you?
Who hurt him?
Hurt people. Hurt people. So there you go.
Secrets.
All right, I'm going to tweet that one out and get roasted. Y'all ready?
Oh.
We're going to stay live here for 2 hours as the comments. All right. I think that's it, man. We didn't miss any super chats, did we? We already hit Soldiers.
No, we
Shout out
got
to Josh Lanningham becoming a member here on YouTube. We'll make sure you're entered into the contest. By the way, this weekend, Saturday, we're going to be giving away an autograph rookie Catan Oladapo card. Nice. All you got to be is a member of our Patreon group or a member here on YouTube. Recommend Patreon because you get a lot more for your $3 there. But we're going to put everybody's name on the pinky wheel and spin that sucker and give that thing away there. So, Josh, you will be entered into that. We appreciate you. H.E. Solder, thank you for the super chat. Guys, you got anything else?
Nope. Pretty good draft tonight. Not our best, not our worst.
Not bad. I'm going to try to remember to tweet it out here in a second, see what everybody says. So, all right, that's it, guys. We'll see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central for PTA Live. We'll have the new top 30 visit that came through. I'm trying to remember his name. I've already forgotten it, but we'll hit that. We'll give you guys a full scouting report, show you what kind of recruit he was coming out of high school, strengths, weaknesses, PFF grades, RAS card, the whole 9 yards. We'll get you up to date there. And who knows, we might get some more top 30 visit information coming in by then. Saturday, the plan is probably to have to do an early day show. You know what? We might want to do the giveaway Sunday because of that. I've got a graduation to attend. My nephew's graduating, man. No more high school football to attend. It sucks. So
you can still go to the games.
Yeah.
You know.
But you can get thrown out like AFAM, right? Walking in there with that.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
Yeah, be careful. All right, that's it, guys. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Everybody have a great night. 7 p.m. Central. Make sure you're here. And appreciate the support. Like the stream. Feel free to join the Patreon. Like I said, scan the QR code in the upper right or just go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. Everybody have a good night. Bye.
There we go. We out.
All right.
Bye, guys.